6 years ago, Selena Carter was thrown out of her marriage, her career destroyed, her unborn twins branded as another man's children. Tonight, she walks back into New York, not as the broken woman Damian Sterling cast aside, but as the powerful force who came to bring him to his knees. This is not just a story of betrayal and heartbreak, it is the story of a woman who rose from ashes to become the fire. Welcome to Mr. Roberts Stories. If you love gripping tales of love, betrayal, revenge, and shocking twists, you've just found your new home. Here, every story will pull you in, make your heart race, and leave you guessing until the very last word. Now, here's the deal. Watch till the end because the best surprises are always saved for last. And if you enjoy the story, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss another unforgettable story. Every story on Mr. Roberts Stories isn't just something you watch, it's something you feel, something that stays with you long after the video ends. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. Trust me, you're going to want to watch every second. This is Mr. Roberts Stories, where every story is an experience. The Manhattan skyline glittered like scattered diamonds against the February dusk. From the 62nd floor of Sterling Heights, the view was breathtaking, rows of skyscrapers piercing the heavens, the Hudson River winding like a silver ribbon, and the glow of city lights flickering as if bowing before the empire of Damian Sterling. Inside the penthouse, Dr. Selena Carter stood by the window, her hand instinctively resting on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant with twins, she felt the flutter of tiny kicks beneath her palm, a constant reminder of the lives she carried. At 32, Selena had fought for every ounce of success she possessed. A black woman in a field that often doubted her brilliance, she had risen to become one of New York's most sought-after neurosurgeons. Her face had graced medical journals, her name attached to groundbreaking procedures that saved lives once thought beyond hope. Her marriage to Damian Sterling, the city's golden billionaire, had only seemed to cement her legacy. They were the couple people whispered about, her intelligence, his wealth, their power combined like a dynasty in the making. The Carters and Sterlings had become more than names, they were a brand. Selena never imagined that brand would one day break her. Tonight should have been joyous. Damian was hosting an important investor dinner, and Selena, though unable to drink, had ensured every detail was perfect. The wine pairings, the floral arrangements, the private chef's menu. Everything as always was in place. And she had good news to share. The latest tests confirmed that her twins, once at risk due to a rare genetic complication, were thriving thanks to the experimental procedure led by her obstetrician, Dr. Elias Monroe. Selena's lips curved into a smile as she reread the message on her phone. Relief made her chest lighter. 4 months, she had balanced her demanding career with endless medical appointments, late-night calls, and procedures too delicate to trust to just anyone. She had sacrificed her peace to ensure her babies survived. And now it was worth it. The sound of the elevator's arrival pulled her from her thoughts. She slipped her phone into her clutch, eager to share the good news with Damian. He was home early, a rarity on nights like this when business consumed him. But when he stepped through the door, something was wrong. His eyes, normally warm, if sharp, were like shards of blue ice. His jaw was clenched so tightly she could see the muscle twitch. His usually composed stride carried a dangerous energy, each step echoing across the marble floors like a gavel pronouncing judgment. "You really thought you could fool me?" His voice was low, venomous. Selena froze. "Damian, what are you talking about? I had you followed." He dropped his briefcase with a thud and reached inside, pulling out a manila envelope. He hurled it to the floor, its contents scattering like confetti laced with poison. Selena's heart stopped. Photographs. Dozens of them. Her walking into medical buildings. Sitting across from Dr. Monroe at quiet restaurants. Their heads bent together over documents, charts, ultrasound reports. Each picture, innocent in truth, twisted into something damning. "What is this?" she asked, her voice calm but her pulse pounding. "What is this?" Damian's laugh was harsh, mirthless. "Evidence. Proof. You thought I wouldn't notice the 3-hour appointments, the secret dinners, the endless calls and texts to one man. Did you think I was blind, Selena? Her throat tightened, but she stood tall. Dr. Monroe is my obstetrician. He's the reason our children are alive. Every appointment, every dinner, those were about saving them. Don't you dare, Damian spat, his face contorting. Don't you dare call them our children. They're not mine. Do you deny it? Do you deny the dinners? The texts? The lies? Tears stung her eyes, but she didn't flinch. I deny the affair you're inventing. Yes, I met him privately. Yes, I spent hours under his care. Because my pregnancy is high risk. Because I was desperate to save our twins. But I never betrayed you, Damian. Not once. His rage boiled over. He slammed his hand against the window, the sound reverberating through the glass. Stop lying. How long, Selena? Since before the marriage? Was that your plan all along? Marry the rich businessman, trap him with children that aren't his. Selena pressed her hand protectively to her stomach as the twins kicked. Her voice trembled, but she refused to bow. Listen to yourself. You're letting paranoia destroy us. Someone is poisoning your mind, and you're letting them. No, he hissed, adjusting his tie with shaking hands. The only one who destroyed us is you. And I'm ending it tonight. The elevator dinged again. 2 security guards stepped out, their faces stiff with professional detachment. Selena recognized them, men who once greeted her warmly in the lobby, now looking at her as if she were nothing. Damian's voice was like a blade. It's Dr. Carter now. She was just leaving. Selena's stomach dropped. Damian, don't do this. Think about what you're throwing away. Think about your sons. You have 1 hour, he continued coldly, as if she hadn't spoken. Your accounts are frozen. Your hospital privileges revoked. If you ever return to New York, I'll make sure you never practice medicine again. The guards moved toward her, and for the first time, panic clawed at her chest. But pride held her spine straight. She lifted her chin, tears burning trails down her cheeks. You're making the greatest mistake of your life, she said quietly. One day you'll regret this. And it will haunt you. The only mistake I made, Damian said, turning his back on her, was trusting you. Those were the last words he gave her. As the guards led her to the elevator, Selena's eyes swept over the penthouse, the expensive furniture, the glittering city beyond, the life that had been hers only moments ago. Her hand curved protectively around her belly. It's okay, my loves, she whispered to the twins. We don't need him. We'll rise from this. And when we do, he'll pay for everything. The elevator doors closed, cutting her off from the world she had built. Each descending floor felt like a nail in her coffin. But with every drop, something stirred within her, a fire, faint but growing. Damian Sterling thought he had destroyed her. He thought he had written her ending. But Selena Carter knew the truth. This wasn't her end. It was her beginning. The icy New York wind bit into her skin as she stepped onto the street, but she stood tall. She hailed a cab, her mind already racing. Where could she go? How would she survive with nothing? She didn't know yet. But one thing was certain. Damian Sterling had just made the biggest mistake of his life. And one day, when the time was right, he would learn exactly what it cost him. The taxi door slammed shut behind her, the sound like a final verdict echoing in the cold February night. Selena Carter pulled her coat tighter around her as the cab pulled away from Sterling Heights, the glass tower shrinking in the distance, disappearing behind other skyscrapers like it had never belonged to her. Her phone buzzed relentlessly in her clutch, a cruel chorus of notifications. She drew it out with trembling fingers, her breath catching as she read. Credit card declined. Account frozen. Email password reset. One after another, the messages stacked up, each one stripping her life bare. Damian Sterling wasn't just a man, he was an empire. And with the flick of his hand, he was erasing her from existence. Where to, ma'am? The driver asked, his accent thick with New York grit. Selena's voice faltered. Just drive for now. Her reflection in the rain-smeared window looked back at her, eyes rimmed with tears, hair falling from its sleek style, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Once hailed as the poised Dr. Selena Carter, wife of one of the most powerful men in Manhattan, She now looked like a woman being swallowed whole by the city she had once conquered. The twins stirred within her, their kicks restless, as though they could feel the storm outside and within her. She pressed both hands against her belly. "It's okay, my loves," she whispered, her throat tight. "Mama's not going to let him destroy us." But her assurances felt fragile, like glass that could shatter at the slightest tap. The first blow came when she arrived at the Ritz-Carlton, hoping for shelter. The concierge, a man who had once greeted her with deferential smiles, now looked at her with pity as his computer beeped in refusal. "I'm sorry, Dr. Carter," he said, voice clipped but not unkind. "Your corporate account has been terminated." She stared at him, her heart plummeting. "Try the personal card." He did. Another beep. Declined. In that gilded lobby, surrounded by chandeliers and velvet carpets, Selena felt smaller than she had in years. People turned to look, whispers starting, eyes narrowing. She didn't need to hear the words to know what they were saying. Damian had already started spreading his poison. She walked out with her head high, but the burn of humiliation clung to her like smoke. Her phone rang, breaking the silence. She answered quickly, clinging to the sound of a familiar voice. "Selena?" It was Naomi Harris, her closest friend since medical school. Her voice was urgent, heavy with concern. "What's happening?" "Damian's people are calling everyone, saying..." "Don't," Selena cut her off sharply, her voice breaking. "Please don't repeat it. Not now." There was a pause, then Naomi's voice softened. "Where are you?" "In a taxi." "Nowhere really." "Listen to me," Naomi said, her tone hardening with determination. "There's a Delta flight to Atlanta leaving JFK in 2 hours. I'm booking you a ticket with my miles. You're coming here. I won't take no for an answer." Selena shook her head even though Naomi couldn't see her. "Naomi, I can't." "You can. You're 7 months pregnant with twins, for God's sake. You need safety. You need rest. My father's still chair of the board at Georgia Medical Center. Damian's reach won't touch you here." Tears welled again, blurring the streetlights into smears of gold and white. "He's already blacklisting me. Freezing everything. I have nothing, Naomi. Nothing." "You have me," Naomi said fiercely. "And I won't let you fall. Now tell that cab driver to get you to JFK." The driver cleared his throat, eyes catching hers in the rearview mirror. He had been listening. "JFK, miss?" Selena's lips trembled, but her voice came steady. "Yes, JFK." The ride blurred into flashes of neon and rain. Her lawyer called, promising to challenge the frozen accounts but warning it could take weeks. Dr. Elias Monroe, her obstetrician, rang as well. "Selena, I'm so sorry," he said, voice tight with frustration. "I've been contacted by the hospital's ethics board. Damian's legal team claims our appointments were inappropriate." Selena closed her eyes, gripping her belly. "Those appointments saved my children's lives." "I know," Elias said. "But they're twisting everything. I'll forward your records to any doctor you choose, but for now, keep yourself safe." A word that felt foreign to her now. At JFK, she walked through the terminal like a ghost, clutching the small overnight bag she had managed to grab. She had nothing else. Her clothes, her jewelry, her memories, everything she once owned was either locked in storage or gone. At the Delta counter, Naomi's promise was waiting, a first-class ticket, quietly upgraded by a kind attendant who saw her swollen belly and tear-stained face. Selena thanked her with a weak smile, holding back the sob that threatened to tear from her chest. In the lounge, she finally opened her email. The headlines were already circulating. Dr. Selena Carter, affair with obstetrician? Damian Sterling betrayed by wife of 4 years. Sterling's heirs in question, twins fathered by another man? She wanted to scream, to shatter the screen with her fists. But she couldn't. She had no strength left. Then, her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Damian. He was seated at their favorite restaurant, the very one where he had first taken her on a date. Beside him sat Celeste Langford, a blonde heiress whose father was one of Damian's top investors. The message below was simple, brutal. "Moving on. Don't come back." Selena's breath hitched. Her hands trembled so violently she nearly dropped the phone. The twins kicked hard, as though protesting the cruelty of the man who had abandoned them. She placed her palm over her stomach, closing her eyes. "We don't need him," she whispered, her voice low but fierce. "We'll build something new. Something stronger. And one day, we'll return and show him exactly what he threw away." The announcement for boarding echoed through the lounge. She rose, gathering what little she had, and walked toward the gate. Every step felt like a death, but also like a promise. As she settled into her seat, staring out at the storm clouds gathering over New York, her phone buzzed one last time. A message from her former chief resident. "Whatever he's saying, I don't believe it. Be safe, Dr. Carter. Rise again." The words lodged in her heart, sparking a faint ember of hope. Rise again. The plane taxied onto the runway, engines roaring. Selena pressed her hands protectively over her belly, whispering to the restless twins inside her. "We're Carters. And Carters don't break. We rise." As the plane lifted into the stormy sky, Manhattan's lights disappeared beneath the clouds. Selena Carter left New York that night with nothing but her unborn children and a burning vow. She had been cast out, humiliated, erased. But this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of her revenge. The Atlanta air felt different the moment Selena stepped off the plane. Warmer. Thicker. Less judgmental somehow. The February chill of New York still clung to her coat, but here the breeze whispered like a promise. "You are not alone. Not anymore." Waiting at the terminal was Naomi Harris, her best friend since medical school. Naomi wasn't just a friend, she was a lifeline. Tall, graceful, her dark curls pulled into a sleek bun, she rushed forward and pulled Selena into a fierce embrace. "You're safe now," Naomi murmured against her ear, her voice trembling with both relief and rage. "You hear me, Sel? You're safe." For the first time since Damian had cast her out, Selena allowed herself to cry freely, her tears soaking into Naomi's shoulder. The twins kicked restlessly in her womb, as though sensing the presence of someone who would protect them. Naomi leaned back, wiping Selena's cheeks with her thumbs. "Come on. Dad's waiting in the car. Let's get you home." The Harris estate was nestled in the heart of Buckhead, sprawling and serene, a stark contrast to the cold, glassy perfection of Sterling Heights. Dr. Charles Harris, Naomi's father, was a towering figure in medicine, a respected surgeon, chairman of Georgia Medical Center, and a man whose word carried weight in every boardroom he entered. When Selena walked through the front doors, he rose from his armchair, his salt and pepper hair gleaming under the chandelier. "Selena," he greeted warmly, enveloping her in a fatherly hug. "Your family here. Whatever Damian Sterling thinks he can do, he won't touch you under my roof." Selena's throat tightened, but she forced a smile. "Thank you, Dr. Harris. I don't even know where to begin." "Begin with rest," he said firmly. "And let us handle the rest." For the first time in weeks, Selena exhaled without fear. But the world did not forget so easily. Even in Atlanta, Damian's shadow stretched long. Tabloids followed her, headlines twisted her story, and whispers filled the hospital halls when she applied for credentials. "Isn't she the one Sterling divorced? I heard the twins aren't even his. Can you imagine being pregnant and reckless like that?" Selena overheard it all, but she lifted her chin higher with each step. The Harris name protected her from the worst of it. Dr. Charles Harris fought for her, and with his endorsement, Georgia Medical Center approved her application. She returned to the operating room within 2 months, her hands steady even as her heart carried scars. Yet the rumors lingered. Damian's legal team sent her letters dripping with venom, threatening lawsuits, questioning the legitimacy of her medical research, accusing her of fraud. Each one was a dagger, but Selena refused to bleed in front of him. Instead, she built walls, brick by brick, fact by fact, document by document. Every ultrasound, every medical record from Dr. Elias Monroe, every text Damian had ever sent during their marriage, she kept them locked away, not as shields, but as swords she would one day wield. Naomi noticed. One evening, as they sat on the veranda sipping tea, Naomi leaned forward. "Selena, why are you collecting all this? Why can't you just let him go? Selena's gaze drifted to the horizon, the Atlanta skyline glowing in the distance. Because he didn't just break me, Naomi. He tried to erase me. And if I let this go, he wins. He'll do it to someone else too. I won't let that stand. Naomi sighed, reaching across to squeeze her hand. Just promise me you won't lose yourself in the fight. Selena smiled faintly, her hand resting on her belly. I can't. I've got 2 reasons not to. The day her twins were born was both the hardest and the most glorious of her life. Labor came early one humid summer night, 6 weeks before her due date. The contractions struck like lightning, stealing her breath, bending her body. Naomi rushed her to Georgia Medical Center, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. Breathe, Sel. Just breathe. You've got this. Hours blurred into pain, sweat, and determination. But when the cries of her sons finally filled the delivery room, tears streamed down her face, not of sorrow, but of triumph. Eli, she whispered, cradling the first, his tiny fists waving as though already fighting the world. And Micah, she breathed, kissing the forehead of the second, whose eyes, blue, startlingly like Damian's, blinked open. The resemblance stung, but Selena held them tighter. You're mine. Only mine. And I will give you the world. Motherhood was not easy. Nights bled into mornings, exhaustion sank into her bones, and the weight of single parenthood pressed heavily. But Selena had endured worse. She scheduled her surgeries around feedings, studied medical journals with one baby in her arms, and walked the hospital halls with both in a stroller, daring anyone to whisper in her presence. And slowly, something shifted. The same colleagues who once doubted her began to admire her resilience. Patients trusted her not just for her brilliance, but for her strength. Articles that once mocked her now praised her for balancing life and career after scandal. Still, Damian's specter lingered. She would catch glimpses of his name in the Wall Street Journal, hear whispers of his growing fortune, see his smirk on magazine covers beside Celeste Langford. Each sighting was a reminder, he was thriving, while he expected her to crawl in the shadows. But Selena Carter did not crawl. She rose. It began with small victories. A research paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine. A grant awarded to her team for cutting-edge neurosurgical technology. Invitations to speak at conferences. And then the idea came. An innovation that could revolutionize patient recovery, a fusion of medicine and technology. She pitched it quietly at first, gathering allies, building a company under a veil of secrecy. Phoenix Innovations. The name came to her in a dream, and it was perfect. She was the phoenix, burned, broken, but reborn from the ashes Damian had left her in. Naomi walked into her study one evening to find her poring over blueprints and financial models. You're really doing this, aren't you? Selena looked up, her eyes burning with determination. Yes. I'm building something bigger than him. Bigger than all of this. And when the time comes, her voice softened, almost a whisper. He'll see me not as the woman he discarded, but as the storm that ended him. 6 years passed in the blink of an eye. Eli and Micah grew into bright, curious boys, their laughter filling the Harris estate, their presence her greatest source of strength. Phoenix Innovations grew quietly but powerfully, its reputation spreading like wildfire across the medical field. And then came the invitation. A prestigious New York charity gala, attended by the city's most influential elite, including Damian Sterling. Selena read it twice, her heart thudding. It was time. The Phoenix was ready to return to the ashes it had risen from. The Manhattan skyline shimmered like a crown of steel and glass, glittering against the night sky. For 6 years, Selena Carter had avoided it, this city that had once spat her out, branding her a liar, a cheat, an outcast. But tonight she was back. The black town car pulled up outside the Waldorf Astoria, its golden awnings gleaming under the spotlights. Cameras flashed, journalists called out names, and socialites in designer gowns glided across the crimson carpet. Inside the car, Selena sat poised, her breath steady. Her gown was a masterpiece, an emerald silk creation that hugged her curves, the deep neckline bold yet regal. Around her neck hung a delicate diamond pendant, not extravagant but commanding in its simplicity. Her driver opened the door. She stepped out. The crowd gasped. For a moment, silence fell. Then, like ripples across water, the whispers began. Is that? It can't be. Selena Carter? Cameras snapped furiously. Reporters surged forward. Dr. Carter, where have you been these past 6 years? Is it true you're behind Phoenix Innovations? Are the rumors about your sons true? Selena ignored them all, gliding forward with a grace that silenced even the loudest doubter. She wasn't here to explain herself. She was here to conquer. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers sparkled above a sea of power and wealth. The air buzzed with chatter, laughter, and clinking champagne glasses. The city's elite mingled, but all eyes kept darting toward her. Selena Carter, the woman they had once written off, was back. And she was glowing. At her side, 2 little boys in tailored suits clung to her hands. Eli and Micah, now 6 years old, walked with quiet confidence, their matching green bow ties a nod to their mother's gown. They were her anchor, her armor, her proof that she had survived. Mom, Eli whispered, tugging her hand. Everyone's staring. Selena smiled down at him. But, let them. We're worth staring at. And then she saw him. Damian Sterling. He stood near the stage, tall, broad-shouldered, his tuxedo perfectly cut, his hair gleaming under the lights. Age had touched him lightly. He looked sharper, harder, his arrogance sharpened into something colder. At his side, Celeste Langford sparkled in diamonds, her hand looped through his arm. The sight hit Selena like a wave, but she didn't falter. She lifted her chin, her heels clicking against the marble as she crossed the room. Damian turned and froze. For a split second his mask slipped. His blue eyes widened, his breath caught, his hand tightened involuntarily around his champagne glass. Selena, he breathed, her name tasting foreign on his lips. She stopped a few feet away, her sons clinging to her hands. Her smile was poised, but her eyes burned with a quiet fire. Damian, she replied, her voice low, smooth and lethal. Did you miss me? The crowd fell into silence, watching. Celeste's grip on Damian's arm tightened, her eyes narrowing at Selena. What are you doing here? Damian asked, his voice pitched lower, but the tension in it betrayed him. Selena tilted her head slightly. I was invited. Phoenix Innovations is sponsoring the neurosurgical wing at Columbia. You didn't think I'd stay in Atlanta forever, did you? The name landed like a grenade. Around them, gasps rippled. Phoenix Innovations, the company everyone had been whispering about, the one revolutionizing medical technology, was hers. Damian's jaw clenched. His mask returned, arrogance settling back into place. You've been busy, he said flatly. Selena's smile widened. Just, well, you've been what? Expanding your empire? Posing for magazines? Collecting heiresses? Her eyes flicked to Celeste, who bristled. I see some things never change. Damian leaned closer, his voice dropping. You shouldn't have come back, Selena. You don't belong here anymore. Selena met his gaze head-on, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. On the contrary, I built myself back from nothing. I belong here more than ever. And unlike you, Damian, I don't need to destroy people to rise. I build. Her words struck, and for the first time in years, Damian had no immediate reply. She turned to walk away, her sons in tow, but paused, glancing over her shoulder. Enjoy tonight, Damian, because soon, you'll remember this as the last night you stood taller than me. The rest of the evening unfolded like a symphony orchestrated in her favor. Investors approached her, eager to align with Phoenix. Old acquaintances who had once avoided her now fell over themselves to praise her brilliance. But beneath the glitter, the war had only begun. Damian watched her all night, his jaw tight, his glass refilled too often. Celeste clung to him, whispering, but his eyes followed Selena across the ballroom, haunted by the ghost he thought he had buried. Later, outside on the terrace, Selena stood alone for a moment, breathing in the crisp night air. The city stretched out before her, alive with lights and possibilities. Naomi appeared at her side, her gown as sleek as her expression. "You did it," she murmured, pride in her voice. Selena exhaled, her lips curving. "No. I've only just begun." Her gaze shifted back inside, where Damian stood stiffly, pretending to laugh at some joke, but his eyes betrayed the storm within him. For the first time in 6 years, she wasn't the one crumbling. He was. When she returned to her suite that night, Eli and Micah asleep beside her, Selena sat at her desk, opening her laptop. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she pulled up documents, contracts, patents. Each one was another piece of her arsenal, another weapon in the silent war she was about to wage. Damian Sterling had stripped her of everything once, her dignity, her career, her place in the world. Now she would strip him of what he valued most. His empire. His pride. His name. Selena Carter smiled to herself, her reflection in the glass window staring back like a queen reborn. The phoenix had risen, and the man who had once tried to bury her was about to burn. 6 months later, the once mighty Sterling empire was crumbling. Headlines blazed across every financial paper. Damian Sterling under investigation for fraud. Sterling Investments loses major contracts to Phoenix Innovations. Wall Street darling brought to his knees. Every secret Damian thought he had buried was now dragged into the light. Failed deals. Corrupt partnerships. Questionable financial practices. One by one his investors abandoned him. Celeste Langford, humiliated by the scandal, returned her engagement ring in front of the press. Damian was left alone, his fortune bleeding out, his reputation shredded. And through it all, Selena Carter's name only rose higher. Phoenix Innovations expanded globally, its technology saving lives and dominating markets. Medical journals hailed her as a pioneer. Magazines called her the woman who couldn't be broken. The same society that once whispered scandal now spoke her name with reverence. But the greatest victory wasn't in the headlines or boardrooms. It was in the quiet moments, watching Eli and Micah play in their sunlit Manhattan home, hearing their laughter echo in rooms once filled with her tears. They were happy, unscarred by their father's cruelty. One evening, as Selena tucked them into bed, Eli asked, "Mom, are we really phoenixes? Like you always say?" Selena kissed his forehead, smiling. "Yes, baby. Phoenixes rise from the ashes. No matter how hard someone tries to destroy us, we come back stronger." Micah grinned sleepily. "Does that mean Daddy can't hurt us anymore?" Her chest tightened, but her voice was steady. "That's right. He can't hurt us anymore. He lost his chance." When they drifted off, Selena stood by the window, gazing at the glittering Manhattan skyline. The city had once spat her out, but now, it bowed to her. She had risen. She had won. And Damian Sterling, her betrayer, her enemy, was nothing but a shadow in the ashes she left behind. Selena Carter wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a queen. The phoenix had claimed her crown.